Are you from whereabouts in France? Are you from?
Corsica.
Where is
The island between Italy and France.
Ah.
Nice landscape, beach. How often do you go back? Once a year. Quite fast.
Are you ready?
Yeah, cool. So guys, like, thank you very much for your time. I wanted to ask you about this album. I heard that like the genesis was quite different from the others. You took some time like away from each other to write. Can you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, I think we all enjoy writing, and we wanted to kind of just focus on writing some nice songs this time. We've said it, but the last couple of albums, we knew that we would be touring, kind of those years afterwards. So we wrote with big crowds in mind. So we wanted to write like anthemic songs. And this one, we just wanted to kind of focus on writing good songs. So I think we all kind of went away, wrote things that we thought would be good, and then came back and kind of developed them together. So I think it's the most involved we've been in the process so far, and we've made an album that we're most proud of. So we're very happy with it.
Did you feel like both like more free just to express like what you wanted to do like in your songs and musically? Was it?
Yeah, because you've more time to think, because we had set aside time to be in the studio. So you had more time to think about what you wanted to do on each song, how you wanted it to sound, what you wanted to say. Yeah, so it felt a little bit more free than previous albums, I think.
Yeah.
Why the title? Is there a
reason? It started off like we had written. We do a lot of like our sessions, like late in the evening, which end up running into 2, 3, 4 a.m. We're in the studio just chatting and writing and stuff like that. Which obviously which means we made the album in the AM. But then we ended up writing a song called AM that pretty much gives across like a freedom vibe.
And you guys have been like touring like crazy and having like 5 albums. Like, when did you get the time to record this album? Was it like on the tour? Did you have like a break or?
Well, in the last few years, we've done kind of everything on the road, which has been a lot of fun, but it's also pretty intense because obviously the touring schedule is quite a lot anyway. And then in between, and obviously at nights and stuff, you do the writing and the recording. So we very much enjoyed this time that we set aside a couple of months out
like
of touring like to really focus on writing and getting the startings of recordings done. So we kind of had a basic outline of what the album was, and then we finished off very much in the same way, in hotel rooms and on the road and stuff. But it was fun to kind of focus for a couple months on writing and making an album that we wanted to make, rather than doing everything in like bits and then putting it together. It was nice to have like a foundation before we went out on the road again.
Okay, and like, do you think the first single is really representing this album and the sound?
Yeah, I think in terms of, I think when we brought Drag Me Down out, I don't think people expected us to bring a record like that out, which then brings us into the album, which I don't think a lot of people are going to expect us to bring an album out like this. There's a lot. It's not like shockingly different, but it's there's a lot of different styles that we hadn't really experimented with before, and yeah, I think Drag Me Down does give a good what's the word I'm looking for? Good representation of the rest of the album. Yeah.
And what about the second single, Perfect? I've just heard it. It's quite like representing maybe, I feel like that like the evolution of your sound and of your albums is quite grown up.
Yeah, I think Perfect is probably the most pop song on the album. But that's very different to the most pop song from our first album. So we still have those like flavors of a couple different things, but there's also an evolution that's been pretty natural just as we've grown up. The music's kind of grown with us. We haven't tried to kind of go out and do any weird thing that isn't us.
Yeah.
So we're happy. I think we're happy with every album in what it is. If we listen back, there's nothing that I think we'd do differently. I think we're pretty happy with the way that things have gone musically.
And it's quite like grown up, and as well I can imagine at 4 it's a different dynamics as well in studio and everything. Did it change something that they like left, or it was just like, oh okay, let's get together and do something like really from with the identity of the band?
Yeah, I mean in terms of the sound in general, I think from the first album, obviously we were 16, 17, 18. Yeah. And as, early 20s year olds, you experience different things. So when you're writing things, they're obviously about different things. And in terms of the dynamic with 4, I think it didn't change the fact that we were all focused on making the album good. I think that's very much always been the same. So yeah, I mean, it was obviously different. There was, there was one less of us, and there was one less voice on the songs, and we wrote obviously with that in mind. But I think the goal for making the album as good as it can possibly be has never changed throughout the time.
And do you think there's like, because I've been able to listen 4 songs, do you think there's a song which could surprise your like fans? I think there's something different.
I think there's probably a few.
There's a few there that will be like, I think the fans will like. I think the fans will like, but that might maybe capture some people that are not particularly One Direction fans. I think that like, for me, like What a Feeling is probably one that I would think, oh, that's different. But yeah, there's a few songs.
I think there's a few. I think that the cool thing with music in general is like it changes so much, and you can never tell with stuff like that. I think some of the biggest songs that have ever been written, some people probably didn't think they were going to be that successful, and then sometimes you get a song that you think is going to be huge, and then you put it out and it does nothing. So I think it's impossible to tell. We've always been surprised with like our favourites sometimes aren't the same as what fan favourites are when we play them, and then sometimes playing them live changes a song so much that it becomes one that the fans like a lot. So I think it's impossible to tell. You just have to kind of hope that people like, and obviously everyone has different tastes, so other people are going to like different things.
And you guys have been like touring like crazy. You've been like to many countries in the world. Like you have been like #1 in pretty much every country of the planet, but you didn't stop. How is it like? You're gonna take like a break? We don't know for how long. How is it like? Do you realize what happened to you and everything? Did you have like time to think about all that, or are you just focusing on the music?
Well, like as it's going on, you actually you don't. It's not like you think about it sometimes, but like to actually sit back and reflect, if you like, on what's happened is something that we haven't really had the time to do, because as you said, we've just been touring and recording and stuff like that for the last 4 or 5 years, which then in turn goes into the break, and it gives us time to do that, and it gives us time to see our friends and our family that we didn't get to spend so much time with over the last 5 years. And just time to chill and as you said, look back at what we kind of done.
Yeah, I think it'll be nice just to let some stuff sink in. Obviously, there's a lot of things have happened over 5 years, and sometimes something that now we look back on as something that was like a huge moment for us. When it happened, the next day we might have gone somewhere else to do something else, so we didn't really get the point at the time to let it sink in. So I think when we're on a break, we're gonna have some time to kind of let the whole thing sink in, which I'm sure will be amazing.
And it's quite nice because you're finishing by England, where you began.
Yeah,
at this one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much, guys, for that.
Man. Thank you so
for
much.
your time and your really nice answers.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks very much.